At my daughter's 14th birthday, it felt like everything was set up perfectly, like a scene out of a coming-of-age movie. We had planned this day for weeks. Aurora had been counting down the days, and I wanted nothing more than for her to feel special, like the main character in her own story. It was her first big birthday party with friends, fairy lights, and that dress we spent days picking out. The dress was a compromise between what she wanted and what I thought would look beautiful on her. She insisted on black, but we finally agreed on a lovely white dress with delicate straps. It looked perfect, but as with most teenagers, she didn't see it that way. She stood in front of the mirror, scrutinizing herself from every possible angle, as if the mirror was a judge and jury. I told her she looked amazing, but she just gave me that look, the one that says, "You have to say that. You're my mom." It's like teenagers have a way of seeing flaws that aren't there, convinced they're the only ones who don't have it all together. But to me, she was radiant. As the day of the party arrived, the atmosphere was charged with excitement and a bit of nervous energy. Aurora was on edge, checking her hair, her nails, her teeth, and then her teeth again. She was anxious about whether he would show up, Josh, the boy she had a crush on. When she finally saw him arrive with a small gift in hand, the air seemed to change. They exchanged awkward smiles and blushes. It was a perfectly awkward teen moment, and for a brief moment I felt a sense of relief. She was happy, and that's all I wanted. The party started to unfold beautifully. Kids were laughing, music was playing, and Aurora seemed to be glowing. She looked so grown up, yet still my little girl. Then came the moment for the cake. It was a stunning 3-tier creation from a bakery that's way too expensive, but I wanted her to have the best. We dimmed the lights, and everyone gathered around to sing. I was filming, capturing the moment when Aurora was supposed to blow out the candles and make a wish. She was shining like a sparkler, and I felt like all my efforts were worth it. But then, out of nowhere, my mom's voice cut through the moment. She said it with a smile, as if it was meant to be funny or a piece of advice. "All right, make a wish, sweetheart, but maybe skip the cake. You're looking a little wide-angled lately." It felt like time stopped. I hoped nobody would react, that someone would call out how cruel it was, but instead there was laughter. Her classmates, including her friend Tara, giggled. My heart sank. My dad and sister laughed the loudest. I didn't. In that instant, everything changed. The joy and excitement that filled the room evaporated. Aurora's face fell and she looked down, trying to hide the hurt. She didn't deserve that. Nobody does, especially not on their birthday, especially not from family. I felt a deep sense of failure, like I had let her down in the worst possible way. This day was supposed to be about her happiness, and now it was tainted by a careless, thoughtless comment. I wanted to say something, to stand up for her, but the words wouldn't come out. I was paralyzed by the shock and the weight of the moment. All I could think about was how to make it right, how to erase what had just happened. But I knew it was too late. The rest of the evening felt like a blur. I tried to put on a brave face to keep the party going, but the mood had shifted. I could see Aurora trying to smile, to pretend like it didn't matter, but I knew better. I knew she would carry those words with her, that they would linger long after the party was over. I felt helpless, caught in a moment that I couldn't fix. All the planning, the effort, the love I put into making this day special felt wasted. I just wanted her to feel beautiful, important, and loved. Instead, she got a painful reminder of how harsh the world can be, even from those who are supposed to care the most. As the guests started to leave, I watched Aurora. She was trying so hard to hold it together, to be the gracious host, but I could see the cracks. My heart ached for her. I wanted to take the pain away, to magically rewind the day and erase that awful moment. But life doesn't work that way. All I could do was be there for her, to let her know she wasn't alone, even if I couldn't undo the damage. That night, as we cleaned up after the party, I reflected on everything that happened. It was supposed to be the best day of her life, a day she would remember fondly. Instead, it turned into something she'll likely never forget for all the wrong reasons. I remember that day vividly. It was supposed to be a simple family gathering, a time to celebrate, but it turned into something else entirely. We were all in the dining room, the candles flickering softly on the table, casting shadows that danced around the room. My dad, always the one to try and lighten the mood with a joke, made a comment he thought was harmless, but it wasn't. It was far from harmless. He laughed it off, the kind of laughter that fills the room and demands others to join in. Some of the kids, not really understanding, repeated it under their breaths, like an echo that just wouldn't fade away. Even Josh, who usually kept his cool, gave a nervous laugh and looked down at his shoes, not sure where to put his eyes. Aurora, my daughter, her reaction was immediate. Her cheeks flushed a deep red, and it looked almost painful. She stood up so quickly that her chair scraped loudly against the floor, a sound that cut through the laughter like a knife. And then she left. Just like that, without a word, without a glance back, just gone. I stood there, holding my phone, still filming, not quite processing what had just happened. The room fell into a strange silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl. The laughter died down, and all that was left were the candles, still burning, still flickering as if nothing had happened. Someone cleared their throat, a small sound that felt huge in the silence. My mom was the first to break it, reaching for the cake knife. She asked, "What?" As if nothing significant had happened. Tara, my sister, chimed in, trying to brush it off. "Come on, she's not really upset, right? It was just a line. You didn't say anything bad." My dad added his own comment, trying to justify it. "She's not fat. It's just your genes, Jen," he said, looking at me as if that explained everything. I was silent. What was there to say? Words felt useless, like trying to light a match in the rain. I just stood there, wondering how anyone could think it was okay to say something like that to their granddaughter, especially in front of her friends and the boy she liked, and then laugh about it. Aurora went to her room. No drama, no slamming of doors. Just a quiet, almost polite exit. I followed her, hesitating for a second outside her door, listening. There was nothing at first, just silence, but then I heard a shuffle and a muffled sniff. I knocked gently, letting her know it was me. Silence followed. I asked if I could come in, and after a pause, I heard her say yeah. When I entered, she was curled up on the edge of her bed, wearing that white dress we had argued over for a week. Her shoulders were tense, her eyes red, and she hugged herself tightly, as if trying to disappear into the pillows. I sat down next to her, not saying a word. Sometimes just being there is the most you can offer. She wiped her nose and asked quietly, "Am I actually fat?" Her voice was soft, but the question was direct, hitting me like a punch to the gut. That moment, right there, was when I realized how fragile her self-belief was and how someone she trusted had just shattered it. I looked her in the eye and told her, no, she wasn't fat. She had a normal, beautiful body, and she didn't need anyone else's permission to exist. She didn't owe anyone the version of herself they expected. She dropped her gaze, and I added that she was strong, smart, gorgeous, and that Grandma wasn't exactly an authority on anything except guilt. She nodded slightly, and I could see her breathing slow down, steadying. Then, almost in a whisper, she said, "They all laughed." I told her laughing is easier than standing up and saying, "Hey, that's not okay," but it doesn't make them right, and it doesn't make her wrong. She buried her face in the pillow again, saying she wasn't going back out there. She couldn't. She wouldn't. I reassured her that she didn't have to. This was her party, and they were the ones who didn't belong. I promised to handle it. She didn't argue, just stayed curled up. I squeezed her shoulder gently, got up, and closed the door quietly behind me. Back in the kitchen, my mom was whispering something to my dad, probably rehearsing her excuse about it just being a joke. Tara was on her phone, like she hadn't just laughed at a child's expense. Her son Kevin was poking at his salad, trying to impress some girl in a fox print crop top. I walked in, calm and composed, ready to address this without yelling or drama, just stating the facts. I told them, Mom, Dad, Tara, Kevin, thanks for coming, but you can leave now. They looked at me like I had just announced I was selling the house right from under them. My mom scoffed, asking if I was serious. I was, dead serious. She tried to argue, saying it was just a joke, that people joke like that all the time, but I wasn't about to explain comedy or its boundaries to grown adults. My dad grumbled about coming to celebrate, and now this. I pointed to the door. Good night, I said. I'm sitting here, staring into this camera, trying to lay it all out, the raw, unfiltered truth. I want to be honest, to speak freely about what happened that day. It was supposed to be a celebration, a night for Aurora, my daughter. We had planned everything so carefully, and it started off well enough, but I felt it, the tension, the undercurrent of something about to go wrong. It was always like that with my family. I suppose I should have known better. As the evening unfolded, everything seemed fine on the surface, but there was this moment, this flashpoint. I saw it in her eyes, that cold, calm stare. I was laughing, trying to lighten the mood, but it only made things worse. She flinched, and in that instant, it was clear we were done for. It was awkward, painfully so, and I knew I had to act. I told them to leave, to take my nephew and go. Kevin, in his usual fashion, mumbled something about a phone call and vanished, just like that. The others followed him, leaving a trail of unease behind. My mom paused at the door. Her words were sharp, like a hiss. Hope you sleep well after ruining everything. I didn't slam the door, I just closed it gently, hearing the click that sealed their departure. Inside, the silence was palpable. The teenagers looked at me, waiting for some kind of signal, probably expecting chaos. I took a deep breath and told them we could continue the party without jokes about bodies or hormones. The cake was still there after all. Slowly, the tension eased and a few chuckles broke the silence. Someone turned the music back on and life began to seep back into the room. One of the girls asked if Aurora was coming back. I reassured her that Aurora would come out when she was ready. It was her night, and she deserved to enjoy it. I stepped outside onto the porch, seeking a moment of solitude. The cool air was a relief from the stuffy atmosphere inside. Sitting there, I heard laughter again, real, genuine laughter. I felt a bit of peace knowing that Aurora had come out or at least opened the door a little. That was enough for me at that moment. As I sat there looking at the lilac bush, I couldn't help but think about all the little things I did for them. Every month, I helped cover their mortgage gap, paid for pills, emergency expenses, and other things they claimed were temporary, but never seemed to end. I didn't want them to think I was a bad daughter, after all. My mom got her shop supplies through my company without any markup, and Tara sent me lists for Kevin's needs. Camp, cleats, everything. I sent money without questions because that's what family does, right? But then they came into my house and laughed in my daughter's face. Even Kevin, the kid I helped buy a laptop for last Christmas. I sat there thinking, what's left here that qualifies as family? A shared last name, some dusty old stories I'd rather forget. This wasn't an accident, it was a pattern. I used to be the target, and now it was her. No more money, discounts, or free rides. If someone laughs while your kid is hurting, they're not family. They're just dependents with matching DNA. The next morning, I woke up earlier than I wanted to. The house was quiet, but not in a cozy way. It was that heavy kind of quiet that settles into your bones. Aurora was still asleep. I had checked on her earlier and she looked peaceful enough, blanket pulled up to her chin. I made some coffee and sat down to open my phone. Instantly, I regretted it. Messages were waiting for me. My mom, as expected, saying I did what I wanted as always. Tara left a voice message 1 minute and 47 seconds long. I didn't even play it. I already knew what it would say, how I embarrassed them, poor Kevin, that I tore the family apart over someone who couldn't cook an egg without emotional support. My dad chimed in, accusing me of ruining everything again. Sitting there with my coffee, I realized they didn't get it. Or worse, they did. And they chose not to acknowledge it. That would be typical of them. Thinking back, I remembered when I was 12. My mom, in front of a room full of kids, told me to smile. She said I looked like I was at a funeral, not my own birthday. It was always a joke, always in quotes, always with a smirk, always for an audience. The guests laughed, and I laughed along too. Then I hid in the bathroom until someone came to tell me it was time for cake. It wasn't a one-off event. That was the system I grew up with. Tara was always the favorite. She was the pretty one, the bubbly one, the little sunbeam of our family. And me? I was the understudy, the backup, the spare part in case the original broke. Everything I did seemed to be measured against her. Look at how Tara carries herself, they would say. She doesn't slouch. She doesn't overeat. Her skin glows. Her hair looks like it's straight out of a shampoo commercial. Tara has friends. And then there was me, always with my nose in a book. What kind of teenage girl does that, they wondered. Every attempt to be myself felt like it was run through some kind of fixer-upper filter. It was as if I came with a manufacturing defect, and my mom was still trying to return me. I graduated from the University of Arizona. No summa cum laude, no awards. Just a degree I earned on scholarships and side jobs. No help, no fanfare. Then I got into logistics, worked my way up. Now I manage procurement for a company with over 200 stores nationwide. If someone runs out of soap packaging in Portland or gift boxes in Chicago, that's my problem. I make good money. Not private jet money, but steady and reliable. I've got my own home, a padded savings account, solid insurance, and a better-than-decent credit score. All the things my mom used to say were a bit ambitious for someone like me because, and I quote, "You've always had your head in the clouds." My ex-husband Mike was supposed to be at Aurora's party, but the night before, he ended up in the ER with a fever pushing 104. Not COVID, just a virus. He called, apologized. I believe he meant it. We split up 3 years ago, no screaming, no court battles, it just fizzled out. He was a decent dad and a painfully average husband. I got tired of being his wife, his rock, and the emotional thermostat of the house. We co-parent fine. He sees Aurora, takes her to tutoring, movies, lunch. He's not perfect, but he's not the villain either, just a guy. And honestly, he wouldn't have laughed last night. But when I left him, my parents said, "We knew you wouldn't keep a man. With your personality, it was only a matter of time." I pay their mortgage, not the full thing, just enough to keep the bank from gently suggesting they find a box with wheels. Every month, no reminders, no thank you. I cover their meds, utility bills, the massages mom indulges in, dad's blood pressure pills. I don't ask questions, I just send the money. Mom's little boutique, the one with the baskets, soaps, dried lavender, and those door wreaths that shed glitter like a bad prom dress. It runs on supplies from my company. Officially, she has other vendors. Unofficially, I'm the one who bails her out when she runs out of ribbon or boxes or patience. Rush orders, discount pricing, logistics favors because, after all, I'm her daughter. And Tara? She's always freelancing, which is a polite way of saying sometimes working, mostly complaining. When her water got shut off, I paid it. When Kevin needed a new laptop, I bought it. When summer camp was more expensive than she thought, I covered it. Because, as Mom says, I'm the reliable one. They count on me. So they did, for years. Not because I wanted to help, but because not helping came with guilt. Because family. And now they're texting me about how I'm a disgrace, how I've destroyed the family, how I've betrayed my mother. And I sit there sipping cold coffee, reading all this, thinking, who even are you to me? People who laughed while my daughter shrank into herself. People who treat cruelty as entertainment and kindness as a character flaw. Yeah, no. So I opened my banking app, canceled the mortgage auto pay. Dad's blood pressure? He can manage it with whatever he's got left. Mom's shop supplies? Full price now. Net 30 terms. No exceptions. I never thought I'd be sitting here, in front of a camera, pouring my heart out to strangers on the internet. But sometimes life pushes you to do things you never imagined. It's not easy to talk about family, especially when it feels like it's falling apart, but I need to get this off my chest. It's been building up for too long, and I can't carry it alone anymore. Maybe sharing it will help someone else who's going through the same thing. So here it goes. It all started with small things, little hints that something was off. At first, I dismissed them, thinking it was just stress, or maybe I was overthinking. But then the messages started coming in, first from my mom, then from my dad, and eventually from my sister Tara. Mom would text me things like, "You forgot the mortgage payment, I'm sure it's just an oversight." The next day, another message would pop up. "Jennifer, the bank is calling. Do you even realize what you're doing?" I remember reading those texts and feeling this heavy weight settle in my stomach. It was like they were trying to guilt trip me into doing something I wasn't sure I wanted to do anymore. Dad's approach was different. He didn't bother with long messages, he just kept it simple, direct, and to the point. "Are you kidding me?" he'd write, leaving me to fill in the blanks. But Tara, she was always the dramatic one. She went full-on drama mode, sending me messages about how I screwed everyone over, how Mom was freaking out, how Kevin's camp was falling apart, and how her laptop was dead. She made it sound like everything was my fault, and I was just sitting there in silence, not doing anything to help. And then there was Mom's shop. Word got around, and someone I know saw it in her Instagram stories. Orders weren't getting filled, deliveries were late, and her signature packaging disappeared completely. She wasn't getting the special treatment anymore because now she was just another client, not the manager's mom. It was all just background noise to me, annoying and predictable, until that Friday. That's when everything changed. Aurora came home from school looking completely wrecked. Her eyes were red, her face tight with emotion. She dropped her backpack, sank into the couch, and didn't say a word. She just curled up into the cushions, and I felt that same cold feeling creeping up my spine, the one I hadn't felt since the birthday incident. I sat next to her, trying to figure out what had happened. It took her a long time to speak, but eventually she did. She told me Grandma and Aunt Tara had come to her school. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They had gone to her school and told the front office they just wanted to apologize. They said I'd understand if Aurora talked to me. I knew where this was going, but I still needed to hear it. She wiped her nose and continued, telling me how they asked her how she was doing and then started talking about me. They said I overreacted, that I always do, that I ruined the family, that I was selfish, and that I betrayed them. They told her that now they couldn't afford groceries and it was all my fault. My hands curled into fists as I listened, but I stayed quiet. I couldn't let her see how angry I was, how hurt I felt. And then she told me the worst part. They said I was mentally unstable, that she should know that by now, and that everything that happened was really her fault. Because if she hadn't run off like some hysterical baby who couldn't take a joke, none of this would have happened. They told her it was her job to talk to me, to make me see reason, to help me become a normal, loving daughter and sister again. She was crying by the time she finished, and I pulled her into me, trying to squeeze all the poison words out of her with sheer warmth. I whispered to her that it was all a lie, a full-on, weaponized, calculated lie, not an exaggeration, not a misunderstanding. A lie. She clung to me, still shaking, but she was worried. What if they really lost the house? I pulled back and looked her in the eyes, trying to reassure her. If they lost the house, it would be because two fully functional adults built their lives around the idea that their daughter would always bail them out, even while they tore her down every chance they got. That's on them, not her, not me. But she was still scared. What if they died? She choked out the words, And I told her they wouldn't. They're not old. They're not helpless. They get pensions. They have a business. They're just used to living off someone else. And now they're panicking because the buffet is closed. They need to figure out how to live within their means, like grown-ups. I told her she wasn't their lifeline. She's just a kid. She's not responsible for saving anyone, and neither am I. She hesitated, then said, "But they told me if I couldn't change your mind." And I sat up straighter, my voice calm, cold. They couldn't break me, so they came for her. They thought they could use her to get to me, but I wouldn't let them. I couldn't let them. Not anymore. I always thought they'd break me, that it would be easy for them to manipulate me with guilt, like a puppet on strings. But I took her hands, my daughter's hands, and I promised her and myself that she wasn't at fault for anything that happened that night. She wasn't to blame for people who disguise their cruelty as humor or for adults who can't live without leeching off others. I told her she deserves to feel secure, to live without fear, and that I would protect her in the way no one ever protected me. I didn't scream or make a scene. I didn't throw my phone in anger. I just sent out one message, plain and simple, to all three of them. No emojis, no explanations, no outbursts, just the truth. I said, "You approached my daughter, tried to manipulate a child, tried to make her believe she'd be responsible for your death. You're out of our lives now. No more contact, no justifications. This is over." That's when the chaos started. My phone blew up with calls from my mom. She claimed they just wanted to talk, that my daughter misunderstood. "What did she even tell you?" they asked. "You can't believe her side of the story, please. Let's discuss this like a family." And my dad, he tried a different tactic. "So now you want your mother to suffer after everything we've done for you your whole life?" It was relentless. About 6 weeks passed before my mom reached out again. This time, it was about money. "We got a notice from the bank," she said. "If we don't pay in 30 days, foreclosure starts. Is that really what you want?" No, I didn't want that, but I wasn't giving them another cent. By the second month, they were falling apart. I didn't hear directly from them anymore. A lawyer informed me that my dad had consulted him, asking if they could make me continue paying since I had been doing so already. The answer was no. Volunteering help doesn't create a legal obligation. Imagining him hearing that answer brought a bitter smile to my face. It wasn't about being cruel, it was about seeing things clearly for once. In the third month, Mom shut down her shop. She posted a flowery caption on Facebook about how all good things must come to an end, thanking everyone who supported them. "Due to family circumstances, we're closing our doors," she wrote. Family circumstances, she meant me establishing boundaries. No more late-night ribbon deliveries, no express shipping, no favors at midnight. Because a business can't run on love and optimism alone. It needs logistics and a supplier, and I was no longer providing that. I was establishing boundaries. Kevin didn't go to camp. Tara, another family member, sent me a letter, an actual letter with a stamp, which somehow made it feel worse. "You destroyed everything," she wrote. "He's just a kid. How do you sleep at night, knowing you punished a child?" I sleep peacefully, next to a daughter who will never again be humiliated. I no longer endure whispers from my mother about my daughter, like, "She's gaining weight, right? You see it too." I'm not a wallet, not a punching bag, not a safety net. I'm a mother, and that means something different now. Aurora and I spent a weekend at a small cabin by the lake, away from everything. No Wi-Fi, no distractions, just peace. One evening she asked me, "Mom, do you ever feel guilty?" I finished my tea and set the mug on the porch rail, thinking, "Yeah, but not for what they think. I regret letting them talk to me for so long, like I owed them something. I regret not walking away sooner. I regret that you had to see who they really are." She nodded, understanding, then asked, "They'll never come near me again, right?" I assured her, "Never, and you didn't cause any of this." I held her hand, reassuring her. "Not even a little. Their choices led to their consequences. Your life is yours, and I'm here for you, always." She smiled, a genuine smile this time. If you've listened this far, thank you. I'm still uncertain if I've done everything right. Maybe I should have kept quiet. Maybe I should have left earlier. I'd love to know what you would have done in my place. Did I miss something crucial, or did I finally make the right choice? If this story resonates with you, feel free to share your thoughts.